Hare Rama, Hare Rama. First, I'm going to tell a Prabhupada joke. Not actually a Prabhupada joke, but it's on the way over here, somebody sent me a quotation from a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. Her name was Satyabhama, and she had a lot of association with Prabhupada, and she told the Prabhupada story. And it's funny. Read it to you. Prabhupada told a story about a man from Calcutta who could tell the makeup of any car just by hearing it. And she says, I think Prabhupada was making an important philosophical point, but I forgot the point. Anyway, this man's friend wanted to test the other man's ability to judge cars just by their sound. So together, they went and stood on a street corner in Calcutta. The friend blindfolded the other man, and as each car passed, the man would identify, this is a Cadillac, this is a Buick. Then a donkey came walking by, dragging some tin cans. The man said, oh, that's a Ford. When you read the biographies of devotees that spent intimate time with Prabhupada, he was always jolly. I mean, he had serious moods as well, but jolly. And fantastic sense. I mean, this is an India joke, but even here, you get the joke. Nice. In relation to Ramayana, the descent of the Ganges is told in the Balakanda section. It's Vishwamitra Muni, it's with Ram, Lakshman, and they're having a fantastic time together. The way that it's described in Valmiki Ramayana is Valmiki was enjoying as much as they were enjoying hearing from him, because they were so special listeners, and he was joyful narrating, including his descent of the Ganges narration. I'm going to give a little bit of what he said, what Valmiki said, and it's different than what we find in Srimad Bhagavatam. So in preparation for Ramayana, for Ram Navami, there was this which is correct kind of question. So a substantial amount of research was done to find out how is it? Is it this or is it that? Or is it both? And if you're part of a WhatsApp group, then you should have received this little document. The origin of the Ganges from Srimad Bhagavatam and from Valmiki Ramayana. And the document says, this is in essence, not only there's those two, Jiva Goswami in his Sandarbhas expresses another one, the Bhagavat Sandarbha, which a reference from Bhagavat Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami, Bhakti Siddhanta references in Chaitanya Bhagavat. And that is, Janardana himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, desired to manifest Ganga, so he manifested Ganga. Very different narration. And then another very learned devotee expressed, no problem, because this is the the personality of Godhead can manifest himself in different ways, and does. Ramadi Murtishu Kala Niyamena Tishna Nanavataram Akaro Bhubaneshu Kintu. He can manifest unlimited forms of himself, and his Shaktis can manifest unlimited forms of themselves simultaneously. So that's the gist of the answer to the two different narrations. When you get a chance, if you're not part of that WhatsApp group, ask for you to add to the WhatsApp group and you can get a copy of that little document. It took some substantial time to reach this little back and forth, because there's some items at the end of that document that are interesting. So there's more than one narration of the descent of the Ganges. And we'll start with the one, at least the one that I'm more familiar with, is Srimad Bhagavatam. And I'm going to read to you fifth canto Bhagavatam is a description of the structure of the universe, Vedic cosmology. Very interesting, Vedic cosmology. And so in one part of it, of Vedic cosmology, there's this whole chapter, Descent of River Ganges, chapter 17, canto 5. Here's just a little bit from the preface that Prabhupada writes at the beginning of every chapter. Lord Vishnu once approached Bali Maharaj while the king was performing a sacrifice. The Lord appeared before him as Trivikrama, or Vamana, and begged alms from the king in the form of 3 steps of land. With 2 steps, Lord Vamana covered all 3 planetary systems and pierced the covering of the universe with the toes of his left foot. A few drops of water from the causal ocean leaked through this hole and fell on the head of Lord Shiva, where they remained for 1,000 millenniums. These drops of water are the sacred Ganges River. It first flows, and it describes the flow of the Ganges down, from that realm to Heshdam, to the Swarga, to further down. And that's like just a little mini preface. I'm going to read about 6 verses where some of the detail is found. This is text 1 from Canto 5, Chapter 17. Shukadeva Goswami said, "My dear king, Lord Vishnu, the enjoyer of all sacrifices, appeared as Vamanadev in the sacrificial arena of Bali Maharaj. Then he extended his left foot to the end of the universe and pierced a hole in its covering with the nail of his big toe. Through the hole, the pure water of the celestial ocean entered this universe as the Ganges River. Having washed the lotus feet of the Lord, which are covered with reddish powder, the water of the Ganges acquired a very beautiful pink color. Every living being can immediately purify his mind of material contamination by touching the transcendental water of the Ganges. Yet, its waters remain ever pure." Because this is still translation of verse number 1. Because the Ganges directly touches the lotus feet of the Lord before descending within this universe, she is known as Vishnu Padi. Later, she received other names like Jandavi and Bhagirati. After 1,000 millenniums, the water of the Ganges descended on Dhruvaloka, the topmost planet of this universe. Therefore, all learned sages and scholars proclaim Dhruvaloka to be Vishnupada, or situated on the lotus feet, on Lord Vishnu's lotus feet. Standing ahead, this is a verse from Madhvacharya. This is from the purport. Quotes. Say where the reference. Standing on his right foot and extending his left to the edge of the universe, Lord Brahmana became known as Trivikrama, the incarnation who performed 3 heroic deeds. Text 2. Dhruva Maharaj, the famous son of Maharaj Uttanapada, is known as the most exalted devotee of the Supreme Lord because of his firm determination in executing devotional service. Knowing that the sacred Ganges water washes the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, Dhruva Maharaj, situated on his own planet, Dhruvaloka, the pole star, to this very day accepts the water on his head with great devotion, because he constantly thinks of Krishna very devotedly within the core of his heart. He is overcome with ecstatic anxiety. Tears from his half-open eyes, and eruptions appear on his entire body. Text 3. Below Dhruvaloka is the planets of the Saptarishis. Marichi, Vashishta, Atri, and so on. Well aware of the influence of the water of the Ganges, to this day they keep the Ganges water on the tufts of hair on their heads. They have concluded that this is the ultimate wealth, the perfection of all austerities, and the best means of prosecuting transcendental life. Having obtained uninterrupted devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they neglect all other beneficial processes like Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, even merging into the Supreme. Just as Jnanis think that merging into the existence of the Lord is the highest truth, these 7 exalted personalities accept devotional service as the perfection of life. There's a nice picture. And so this is the descent of the Ganges. Text 4. After purifying the 7 planets near Dhruvaloka, or the pole star, the Ganges water is carried through the spaceways of the demigods in billions of celestial airplanes. Then it inundates the moon, going vertically down, surface cosmology, Chandraloka, and finally it reaches Lord Brahma's abode atop Mount Meru. A little bit about that one. Lord's abode atop Mount Meru. Privileged people sometimes have more than one residence. But Brahmaloka is the top of the universe. And then Mount Meru is a mountain, the golden mountain, that's mounted on top of Jambudvip, that's flat on top, and Lord Brahma has another residence, like a summer home or something. Short passage from the purport. We should always remember that the Ganges River comes from the causal ocean beyond the covering of the universe. After the water of the causal ocean leaks through the hole created by Lord Brahmadev. It flows down to Dhruva, the pole star, and then to the 7 planets beneath Dhruva. Then it is carried to the moon by innumerable celestial airplanes. And then it falls on top of Mount Meru, which is known as Sumeru Parvat. This way, the water of the Ganges finally reaches the lower planets and the peak of the Himalayas. And from there it flows through Hardwar and throughout the plains of India, purifying the entire land. How the Ganges water reaches the various planets from the top of the universe is explained herein. Celestial airplanes carrying the water from the planets of the sages to other planets. The so-called prophets. Speaking of so-called scientists, they don't know. On top of Mount Meru, the Ganges divides into 4 branches, each of which gushes in a different direction, east, west, north, south. These branches are known by the names, the gift names. The branch of the Ganges known as Sita flows through Brahmapuri, atop Mount Meru, and from there it runs down to the nearby peaks, mentions names, the mountains, and including Mount Meru itself. We're going to hear something more about Mount Meru. Sure. These mountains are like a bunch of filaments around Mount Meru, Sumeru Parvat. From there, the Ganges falls to the peak of Gandhamadana mountain, and then flows into the land of Bharatvarsha, Bhadrashva Varsha. Finally, it reaches the ocean of salt water in the west. Now, I'm going to end there. There's a list of sub-branches of the Ganges. And one of those sub-branches of the Ganges is the River Sarayu. River Sarayu in relation to Lord Ramachandra's pastimes. There's a tributary or branch of the Ganges coming down. And there's more detail, but I want to share what the Srimad Bhagavatam has to say. The river Ganges, known in heaven as the Mandakini, emanated originally from Vishnu's toe, piercing the universe. So here's a picture of the portion east, the internal portion of the universe. This is a graphic, it's a part of a poster. And if you notice, please do notice, the 7 upper planets and 7 lower planets. The middle is where we are, Ur Loka, and Bhuvar Loka, Svarga Loka. Then 4 planetary systems above, Maharloka and Janloka. Next to Janloka, it says that's where the 7 sages are. Janloka, 7 sages. And then Satyaloka is at the very top, planet of Lord Brahma. His name, boat. So the Ganges has a purpose, and the Ganges' purpose is to purify. But even where things are not in proper order, they're made in proper order. They're brought, the potency is brought to them, to the place of persons in lower regions, by the descent of the Ganges. I'm going to tell another story. One other story is in relation to Jiva Goswami. Jiva Goswami is one of my heroes, so I'd like to tell Jiva Goswami stories. He was so erudite, and his volume of his writing was so profound. He wrote 4 commentaries on Srimad Bhagavatam. So he was a celebrity during this time. And one of the persons who looked up to him was a Muslim king. The Muslim king was named Akbar. And Akbar had his capital, or his main headquarters, not so far from Mathura. Forget the name of the place. Who knows the name of the place? Agra. Thank you. So, Emperor Akbar was not just king, a powerful king, powerful warrior, but he had a penchant for discussing philosophical topics, or religious topics, or devotional topics, although from Muslim faith. So in his court, he had not brahmanas, but learned persons that were like brahmanas. And they were one time discussing which is superior, the Jamuna or the Ganga. Different views, different ideas, no, they couldn't agree. So Akbar sent a messenger to Vrindavan and asked Jiva Goswami if he could settle this issue, come to where they're having their debate and settle the issue. Jiva Goswami replied, I have a vow that I've not violated and I don't plan to violate. I will not leave Vrindavan overnight. So if you want me to come, you have to send a Rolls Royce. You have to send a conveyance that can go there quickly and come back before the night falls. So the royal chariot was sent, picked him up in the early morning, and Jiva Goswami settled the debate. And it settled it this way. There's a lot of scriptural reference, the back and forth, but the essence of what he said was, while the Ganga is the causal ocean sanctified by the touch of Lord Brahmana's feet, so the Ganga is the sacred benefacting potency. However, the river Jamuna, Krishna played in the river Jamuna, swam in the river Jamuna, his activities with people who love the river Jamuna. So the river Jamuna is superior, with many, many scriptural references indicating different details. Just as an academic group of people. So that's that. And Jiva Goswami made it back in time. So here's a nice painting depicting Vishwamitra Muni having discussions on the way to deal with the first demon that Vishwamitra Muni was requesting these 2 boys to come and deal with. And on the way, discussions, and he was, perfectly knowledgeable, not just in history, but everything. Vishwamitra Muni. So he narrates in Balakanda that Ganga was the older daughter of 2 daughters, and the father was the king of mountains, and his wife, mentioned already Mount Meru, his wife was the daughter of Mount Meru, and her name is Meena. And they became parents of two children. One is Ganga, and the other was Uma. Two children, two daughters. And the demigods, according to Vishwamitra Muni and Vamakanda, Asamanjasa's son. And here's another painting showing, Kapila zapping all the 60,000 suns. It wasn't like that. And behind him is the horse. So Anshuman was then given the task to find the horse. So Anshuman, being very capable, he went all the way down, lower regions of the universe to Atharvaloka, where Kapila was residing. And there, you see in the painting, he saw the ashes of the 60,000 suns, and he also saw the horse. So he understood. He asked Kapila, who are all these bones and corpses? Look, these are your 60,000 brothers, or uncles. And what to do, what can be done to deliver them? That there's only one thing, and there's not an alternative. You have to bring the Ganges here. Therefore, by touch with the Ganges, their souls can become purified of the sin that was incurred by trying to kill me. So Anshuman went back, but this narration parallels both Ramayana and Mahabharata, and Srimad Bhagavatam. So he went back. Here's Kapila showing the pile of ashes, bone. As for your forefathers who have been burned to ashes, they can be delivered by the Ganges water, not by any other means. So there's the horse, there's Kapila's sacrificial fire, the water pot, and there's Anshuman. So it goes back. Now here's a little variation from Ramayana. Garuda told Anshuman that he should devise some plan to bring the Ganges to earth so that her waters could flow across his brother's ashes and thus liberate them from hell. Not Kapila. So the son of Maharaj Anshuman was Dilipa. He tried and he was not successful. So there was a son of Dilipa, his name was Bhagirath. Bhagirath went to a place called Gokarna, and he did very severe austerities. 1,000 years, he stood with his arms raised in the midst of five blazing fires, and ate for once a month. Very austere fellow. That's back again, Ramayana, Bhagavatam. So, at the end of those 1,000 years, Lord Brahma appeared. And Lord Brahma indicated, you please me very much by your penance. What is it that you would like? And he would like Lord Brahma's assistance to bring the Ganges to the lower region where the ashes of his forefathers were, so they can become delivered from hell. So he then made this, you have to undergo some further austerities, and if Ganga agrees, then she'll come. So another 1,000 years of penance. This painting is Bhagirath leading the Ganga. After 1,000 years, she agreed on two conditions. One of the two conditions is, if I flow into the lower regions from the higher regions, there's going to be sins deposited into my river. And someone has to accept those sins. The solution that Bhagirath gave was, when pure devotees bathe in your sacred waters, they'll relieve the waters from all the central reactions. And pure devotees will want to go to the Ganges, not for that reason, but for their purification as well. So she accepted. The other was when the Ganges falls, that someone has to capture the falling Ganges water. So Bhagirath approached Lord Shiva and made the request, can you do this service for deliverance of my forefathers? And he agreed. So there's several paintings. You see, look in the tuft of hair on Lord Shiva's head, you see a female form. That's the Ganges. That's the artist's way of depicting it. And here's BBT depiction. There's Mount Kailash and the Ganges descending to that abode of Lord Shiva, Maheshtam. And there's other paintings showing the same. Ganga descending, Lord Shiva capturing all the flow of the Ganges in his hair. There's Bhagirath again, Ganges descending. In the Himalayas, the artist is depicting another similar painting. So it's a big event. Lord Shiva agreeing for the benefit of all the living entities, not just his ancestors, but all living entities who will be benefited by the Ganges descending. So he agreed to capture the flow of the Ganges. And then the Ganges moving and moving and moving, and you see this nice painting, persons relishing the purification that comes from taking their sacred bath in the river Ganges. But there was one sage who was very disturbed by the flow of the water of Ganges interrupting his meditation. That's Janamuni. So what did Janamuni do? He decided to drink up the entire Ganges. So that's what he did. And he held the Ganges within his body. So Bhagirath had to appeal to Janamuni, please, the Ganges is needed to keep my forefathers of their sinful reaction of trying to kill Kapila Dev. So can you be kind enough to release the Ganges? And so there's another painting saying Januswamasta Ganga. There again, there's the female form of the water and everything. Nice artistry picture. And so what he did was, after drinking, he released the water through his ear. After being worshipped by King Bhagirath for several days, Janu Rishi released the Ganga from his ear. Thereafter, also the Ganga was known as Janavi. This is a celebrated event that is well known in Mayapur. Because the Ganges first. Mayapur. So here's Bhagirath leading and Ganga following and bringing the Ganges all the way again to the abode of Lord Kapila. And when they reach the abode of Lord Kapila, he is very pleased with Bhagirath's austerities. He gives the blessing. The water washes the ashes of his departed ancestors. And so that's now the descent of the Ganges down, 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 down to the lower regions of the universe. I'll just repeat why this topic came up. Came up in relation to preparing ourselves within Austin. And we wanted to, I was asked before Nomi to have topics that would prepare us for receiving Ramchandra's appearance. So there are different topics, and this was one of them. And it's the descent of the Ganges is for purification. She descended with much, ordeal, but she agreed. And of course, the two different versions were told, Lord Ramana gave, or the daughter some of our neighbor two different versions. And then again, the third version. So that's back to that little document. Please read it. If you received it, please read it. If you didn't get it, speak to somebody so you can get a copy. And it's not, there are some things in Scripture that appears to be contradictory. If it's this, it can't be that. If it's that, it can't be this. So the brain is bugged because with a little binary processor, it's 1 or 0. It can't be 1 and 0. But with transcendental topics, it's not quite like that in some cases. This is one of those where a empowered representative of the personality of Godhead, Ganga, can appear in different ways, no problem. As he expands, she expands. In multiple ways, no problem. Now, the Bhagavatam gives, as we read, like the details of how the river flowed from upper regions to the top of Mount Meru and then the 4 directions, and then different tributaries. I didn't read the long list of names, but they're principal tributaries, principal branches of the Ganga. And then there's other branches of the Ganga. There's other branches of the Ganga are very substantial. But there's no source. That's our topic for this evening. That's an interesting artist. He has a little weird. Yes, read that. Somebody can read that. Somebody so let's see if there's some discussion. Is that the end?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Thank you for purifying this home and this assembly with your presence and with the narrations today. I have a question about the upcoming festival of Sri Ram Navami. I think it is generally difficult to get many young people interested in learning or in things like the Ramayana, Mahabharata, or some other pastimes, Srimad Bhagavatam and so on. So I have maybe 2 questions, not a 2-part question. One is what could we contemplate on the day of Sri Ram Navami as we go about our daily duties and so on? That is one question. And the second, any suggestions on what makes someone interested in the Ramayana, especially the younger person? I've heard that for the Bhagavad Gita, the more disillusioned we are with the material business, the more one gets a taste for the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. What would you suggest for Sri Rama?
Well, Ram Navami is already behind us. And on Ram Navami Day, the day after Ram Navami, I was in UT Austin. And it was the day after, but there was at the beginning of our class, there was like half of the normal number of people because the other half were attending a Ram Navami festival on campus by some other organization. But the presumption that there isn't interest, to a degree, yes. But culturally, at least the present younger generation, they like it. Even if it's just, a religious function, because it's a religious function. As we were driving to go to the student center, gosh, there were a lot of people, like thousands. It was University, UT Austin. So, yes, Kali Yuga, so back to your question. Kali Yuga is progressing, but there's still vestiges, at least, of social convention. But what makes the difference is from young age. And what did Prabhupada do to create an interest in Ram Navami in his Western population? Because they didn't know anything. So bhakti attracts. Bhakti attracts Krishna, but bhakti attracts the personality of Bhagavan, from whom bhakti comes. So when that exchange is there between the personality of Godhead, so increase our bhakti is one answer. Another answer is when children from just as Prahlad Maharaj says in Bhagavatam, Komara Acharat Pragyo Dharma Bhagavatam, from the tender age of childhood. I spent some time 2 days ago with an older couple. They're in their early 80s years old, and the wife was doing most of the talking, and she said from the time she was a little girl, her grandmother sat in the living room, and other little children would come, not just her, but other little children, because her grandmother liked Ramayana, and she just narrated it every day. So she doesn't remember all the stories, but she remembers the affinity for Ramayana because it was done from childhood. And that's a big part of Prabhupada's mission and recommendation of establishing opportunities for all ages of people, but starting from Prahlad Maharaj, tender age of childhood, to here. And children are playful, they're restless, it's hard for them to sit still sometimes. But hearing again, when the source is a bhakti source, everybody likes stories. I remember, I didn't say this to this couple, but I'm saying it now. When I was a little boy, once upon a time a little boy, and we had the summer camp. And one of the things that happened every day after lunch, like the number of persons who were part of the summer camp was like 40. And so there was the son of the coach, the sports coach, named was Jack Hyatt. So he sat around to tell stories. They're just completely fabricated, top of the book stories. But he's a good storyteller. All the kids sat around and heard the storytelling. It's nice to hear stories. What to speak of, if it's real. What to speak of, the source is a devotional source. So those who are devotional men and ladies, or teenagers and boys and girls, sit with younger generation people, and by narrating, it goes inside the person who's narrating, as well as the person who's hearing. But that's how culture can change. And then, aside from little children, at whatever stage, just like what Prabhupada did with us. We go Bhagavad Gita in the evening, and Srimad Bhagavatam in the morning. We didn't know, what did we know? We were attracted to him. Of course, the Bhagavatam is wonderful, and Bhagavad Gita is also wonderful. But so because he wanted, we did. And because he wanted and we did, something started to grow inside. So little by little, that's my answer to your question. Little by little. And what, along with Kirtan and Prashadam, that was the formula. Kirtan lecture, Kirtan Prashadam. And who doesn't like Kirtan? We don't like Kirtan. Kirtan lecture, Kirtan Prashadam. And just, as is happening here in KV, with a lot of people just on the way out here, I was remembering it's a long drive to go all the way here. And it's the same generally lengthy drive to go all the way to the Houston Temple. So there's Bhakti Vriksha groups, so people don't have to drive so far. And then there's other systems of education and training that are not just in the Bhakti Vriksha centric. So that's how there's sound. And it's because it's purifying, it's all attractive, the being becomes attractive. Whatever the generation. Now, are there some stick in the mud? Yes. They get bored and they can't sit still and they're gone. But when the source of the sound vibration is a sincere source, a devotional source, then it's attractive for anyone. Okay. Anyone else would like to discuss something? Yeah. Behind you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you so much for the nice class. The Kalpa Veda that you explained for the 3 different versions was very nice. Helped clear up the seeming inconsistencies that is struggling. Some appreciation for the reading. In fact, in one of them, there is consistent meaning that the great personality is Mother Ganges, Bhagirath. They are endeavoring so much for the deliverance of living entities.
Yeah. Sacrifice for others.
Bhagirath could have just got a pail of water, Ganges water, to deliver his ancestors, saying, "May not bring that for the Ganges." But he did, and all the auspicities that he went to for other beings. Which reminds me of Prabhupada. They did not stop talking about it.
Yeah, sacrifice. Similar. Bringing happiness. Great list. And obstacles. They're similar. Anyone else?
That like all the gods do that, yeah, like have a vehicle as the like one animal. Like Ganpati has a cow,
Yeah. Yeah.
very big. So like why all the devas have only Indian regional animals? Why they don't have kangaroos and stuff? Like he was counteracting.
They should have a car instead. Get modern.
Like he was counteracting with me like why they don't have camels?
Well, oh, one can look through one's own lens, the modern, contemporary, and then on the other side, rather than through our lens, to move swiftly from one place to that place, that Lord Vishnu doesn't need Garuda. But he gives giving Garuda some service. And Garuda is a great devotee. He likes the service. So it's facility, it's reciprocal from the person who has the carrier and the one who's the carrier. You know, it's a relationship. And consistent, just like this crocodile, consistent with Ganga, there's the crocodile. So consistent with the service that she does, or that each person does, there's the carrier as appropriate. You know, some of them are rat. But, yeah. Try again. Mother?
Others are big people in big, big, Mother Ganga. Mother Ganga will wash over us. So what I feel, just take them through all the bad karmas in our own life and go and just take a dip in Mother Ganga. How it will happen? Like our energy is so bad, our energy is so pure. How is it possible to wash away all the bad karma and just take it into Mother Ganga? My English is not good, but our British is
You want to elaborate?
I think Mata is just saying how is it possible to purify ourselves of all the bad things by taking a dip in the river Ganges?
Well, how do we know anything? And one of the mistakes or offenses is to consider the statements of Scripture are exaggeration. Artavad. It's an exaggeration. It's not really. It's just an exaggeration. It's to encourage people. So things are exaggerated to encourage people to do something. That's an offense. So back to the question. Is there a limit? Does Scripture tell us fiction or fact? And if it is fact, then your question is how? That there's a potency. There's such a potency. Just like fire burns, but fire can also purify even gold. It takes a lot of fire, it takes some time to do it. So similarly, reactions for sin, there's two things. There's the sin, prarabdha karma, sin that's about to fructify. Sin, yeah, it's in the process of fructifying current prarabdha karma. And then there's the stockpile. You follow? Tendency. I'll tell, with two things. When you're gardening, you can't just clip the top of the weed. There's the roots there. You clip the top of the weed, fine. Until the disruption is diminished because the weed top is clipped. But the root is still there, the weed will grow again. So, tendencies is different than the reactions to sin. The current fructifying of prarabdha karma, that which is happening now, can be cleansed. The power is there to cleanse. But it doesn't it doesn't remove the tendency to do again. You like taking a bath. You can remove, the stuff on the outside of the body, but very quickly it gets not clean again. Vasana is another Sanskrit word. Tendency, ingrained, inbuilt tendency that bathing in the Ganges doesn't take care of that. But the Ganges like taking a bath or when I arrived at the sannyas ashram, I noticed the car that's parked in the parking lot. It's one of our pujaris. The car needs a bath. It's really not clean. That's really. I gotta tease him about. You take bath. You gotta give your car a bath too. So the tendency to get unclean again is not typical. Innate tendencies, like the root of a weed. Here's another little story. Last summer, I was visiting in California. One of the places I visited was California. And one of the places I went was up in the mountains, and I met the person who lives there, and met also Shyamasundar Prabhu. Shyamasundar, the author of Chasing Rhinos with the Swami. Familiar with that book? It's a 3-volume book. He was Prabhupada's personal servant for many years. A secretary of that servant. And he's a really good writer. And he's really into nature. He's a fascinating person. Multi-dimensional, fascinating person. So we met. He said, "You want to go for a walk?" Sure, let's go for a walk. So he took me along a path, and he was teaching me. He said, "You see these sequoia trees? They're celebrated, right? How old the sequoia trees last? Hundreds of years. And with those hundreds of years, how tall are they? And what holds them upright?" He said, "It's a root structure." Then he pointed, he said, "See this area underneath the sequoia tree? There's nothing growing, because it's just the root structure underneath. That's what holds it up." Then we walked a little bit further, and he said, "See, that looks like a weed growing out of the ground, right?" "No, it's not. That's a sequoia tree in an infancy, because there's no seeds to make." This is education, botany class. So there's no seeds for a sequoia tree. It's just from the root structure. Sometimes the root structure produces something that comes up above the ground. And that's a little baby sequoia tree from the root structure. And it's just part of the big root structure. That's how sequoia trees grow. And it takes hundreds of years for them to grow. And then we kept walking and came back, and we passed that same place where that little sequoia tree was growing, and somebody had come by with one of those weed clippers. They clipped it. They thought it was a weed. And Shyamasundar was upset. He said, "But it's okay, because it will grow back." But that's in response to, how is it possible for the Ganga, the one dip, it's Prarabdha karma only. But that's a lot. The tendency, no. Bhakti. Yes. You ready? Okay. I'm ready. I'm working on it too. Okay. You follow. But that's how. And it can it happen quickly? Yes. Can it happen? How? Mercy. Sincere desire, and Krishna. We had this nice discussion yesterday, but Yatarham is the Sanskrit phrase, means according to the desire of a living entity, Krishna reciprocates. If you desire, not in a fruitive way, but in a transcendental way. In a not fruitive, but to awaken your loving attraction to Krishna. It's service. So you're all serving. So do your service with that intention behind, not just like, I want to get free from the bad stuff. That's not purity. No, it's possible, but it's not what purity is. I want one thing, and there's nothing else. That's vibhishan. You're the only place of shelter. I have no other shelter. And if that's in fact the mood, then it's quick. But we've got other shelter. We have one foot in one boat and the other foot in the other boat trying to cross the river. Both feet in one boat. You have different roles, that's okay, but you have one purpose behind those different roles. Is it possible? Yes. That's bhakti. That's bhakti. So, take anything. Supposing somebody likes to cook. So supposing somebody likes to sing. So supposing somebody likes to study. Supposing somebody likes to, whatever it is, become a medical doctor. Is it possible to be a medical doctor for Krishna? Years. Is it possible to go through those years? Focus on, it's not just helping people feel well when they're suffering, but it's a service to Krishna. And one can be given even better gift to serve others to become well. If Krishna empowers that, that's the best doctor. Best singer, the best cook, the best student, the best anything. Best mother. Best. Yeah. So, there's lots of mothers out there. And then there's the best mother. Then there's the becoming like the best mother. That's fun. And however long it takes, that's how long it takes. It can be lifetimes, it can be, quickly. Depends on our sincerity and our focus. Do we have many other wants? Being a mother and having n number of different roles, that's okay. What's the purpose? And how do you get there? At the sadhana, then there's the sadhya. What's the point? Alignment with Krishna. That feeling within the heart, it's easy to align things to that feeling with the heart. How many roles? Okay. Nice question. Thank you.